2017 meeting of the Parker Planning Commission to order at 7 o'clock. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It appears as if all members are present. Are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda?
No, sir, there are not.
Okay. Before we start, I'd like to make an announcement for the members in the audience and those on Facebook Live. We as city members take the role, responsibility, and duties of the Planning Commission seriously. When we as the Planning Commission review site plans, zonings, and other land use requests, during a public hearing, the Planning Commission is sitting as a quasi-judicial body. For projects that are under review by the town, we are unable to, by state law, to discuss matters of the project when approached by members of the public outside a public hearing. This does not mean we are not engaged or interested in hearing from members of the public, quite the opposite. We encourage and appreciate public participation as part of the public hearing process. The public hearing is where we listen to comments, concerns, technical analysis, and other information provided by the town staff, the developer, and the public. This information, combined with the requirements of the Land Development Ordinance, state and federal laws, allows the Planning Commission to remain objective, fair, and balanced when making recommendations or taking action. Simply put, the Planning Commission is required by law to remain impartial to ensure each project, the developer, town staff, and overall the community gets the due process it deserves. The first item before us tonight is a public hearing, Parker Keystone Amendment Number 2, Minor Development Plat. I need to state before we start, as I did last time, that my wife works for the farm that represents Armstrong Capital, but we have not discussed this matter, and she does not work on the items for Armstrong. So unless anybody sees that as a problem? No, sir? No. Okay. All right. We will open the hearing at 7:02. Ryan?
Thank you, Chairman Poole, and Happy New Year, everyone. So if this application looks familiar to Planning Commissioners, it is. Planning Commission heard this item at the November 30th, 2017 Planning Commission public hearing. We are hearing this item again this evening, however, because that public hearing was legal noticed incorrectly. So staff and the applicant have taken corrective actions to legal notice this application in accordance with the Town Land Development Ordinance. A remailing has occurred. New dates were posted on the signs that are on the site, and a new website posting has occurred as well. So my presentation is a brief one, even briefer than the one that was heard on November 30th, and I'll just go through that very quickly for members. So this site is located on the southeast corner of Parker Road and Lincoln Avenue. Lot 2 of the Parker Keystone subdivision is currently under construction with a multi-tenant retail building up on site right now. The minor development plat has been submitted in order to accomplish 3 things. It's going to combine Lot 1 of the Parker Keystone subdivision and Lot 2 of the Parker Heights subdivision to accommodate a future development. It's going to remove and vacate unnecessary utility easements, and it's going to realign a shared access easement at the northwest corner of the property to accommodate additional landscaping and signage. So this slide is a more close-up detail of what this minor development plat is going to do. The green dotted line represents the current Lot 2 property boundary. That green dotted line will be vacated and a new lot shown in red will be created to accommodate the future development. 2 utility easements within the newly created lot will be vacated as designated in the green circles. And then this slide also shows the public access easement that's being shifted slightly to the south and east that will accommodate the freestanding sign and landscaping on the site. So staff has reviewed this request against the requirements of the Plan Development Zoning Designation and Land Development Ordinance and determined that the request meets the applicable requirements. All referral agencies have responded with either no comment or advisory comments. And to date, staff has not received or have been contacted by anyone from the public concerning this request. This minor development plat was renoticed per the land development ordinance, and therefore staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend that the Town Council approve the Parker Keystone Amendment Number 2 minor development plat, subject to the conditions in the staff's report. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have of me. The applicant, Armstrong Capital Development, is here as well, should you have any questions for them. Thank you very much.
Questions for Ryan?
No.
No.
Questions for the applicant?
No.
No.
Okay. As this is a public hearing, we will open the hearing to public comment. If you have a if you have a comment on this matter before us, you need to step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Frost. I live across the street from all that stuff, 11952 Alcorn. I had two questions, but now I have a third one. You made the second lot bigger. Are you going to make another bigger building there?
We'll respond to those questions. Go ahead and
Okay,
ask
yeah.
your questions, then we'll respond.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Are they going to be allowed to put a bigger building there? Originally, there was going to be a smaller building when it was on Lot 2. Okay, that's the impression I got.
Okay.
So
You say-
that's the one thing. And then well, I want to know what these changes are. They say, oh, it's going to make it really nice. If they notice a public hearing thing, it says the project will result in an enhanced visual appearance that will enliven the streetscape and property. That's probably on Lincoln and Parker. That's not on my street. I want to know what they're going to do to my street. Although a lot of it has been done. And then the last thing I have is I bought the house in July, and somewhere within a month, the water came rolling down the street, and they didn't have the drainage finished, but it piled up in the corner right below my house. And my house is 2 or 3 feet above the street, so it would take a little bit. But number one, where does that drain go to? They ended up with 2 pipes, maybe 16 inches, 18 inches, I'm not sure, heading out to the corner of Lincoln and Parker and into I don't remember if it was 3 foot or 5 foot drain, but that I need to know where does the water go, and it didn't appear as though the water that's coming down the hill, it's all uphill, downhill from 3 or 4 blocks away. And plus a gully over there that goes through there's a gully on the south end that goes through a 5-foot pipe, but it also goes down the street in front of my
Okay.
house. So I need to know answers to that stuff.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Seeing no further comment, we will close the public comment. Ryan, can you respond to some of those, please?
Sure, I could certainly try. So I'm going to go back to the map here. So this is lot 2, excuse me. Lot 2 is the lot that the building is on right now. The one in the northeast corner is what's being created with this. No formal submittal of a site plan has occurred for that lot quite yet, but there is a plan to put a building there, a smaller building than what's on lot 2 being constructed currently. With regards to the legal notice, I'd have to take a look at that and see. The legal notice, that piece of paper he brought up, I'd be happy to take a look at that and see and get back to him tomorrow.
Okay.
And then with regards to drainage, maybe Kathy could chime in on this as well from Armstrong Capital Development. But the drainage for this site, more or less goes this way into a drainage detention pond on the northwest corner of the site.
Okay, ma'am, do you want to state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Catherine Sorensen. I work with Armstrong Capital Development. I'm a development manager there. And our address is 4643 South Ulster Street in Denver, Suite 240. Okay, so just to address the first question, yes, we do have plans. We have not submitted an application yet, as the original application for Lot 2 is still underway with some minor amendments. We do have a building plan that's appropriate for the site, for the size of the lot to be approved, if it's approved by town council. A small multi-unit retail plan with uses that are complementary to what has already been slated. As to the question, the second question of the gentleman related to what will be happening to Alcorn Street as far as enlivening the streetscape. One of the things that we worked out with Douglas County was to get the ability to actually landscape the space between the right-of-way there, between the road and our screen fence, which we needed a license in order to do, and Douglas County approved that so that we could actually make that side of the fence look attractive to the people from the neighborhood, as opposed to landscaping on the inside of the fence where it really would benefit nobody. That's one of the things we did, and obviously enlivening the streetscape goes to the improvement of what, and we may all remember here that that was a fairly blighted corner and a very productive corner of the town with quite a bit of unused and blighted land and vacant structures on it. So that was a discussion contemplated there by the public notice. As far as the drainage turned out to be a particularly complicated issue for this lot. And you look at that right there, that's 2 acres. Right at that corner where Alcorn Street turns into Alcorn Avenue, where Ryan is showing you right now. Parker Heights is a 10-acre neighborhood, and it drains, the entire neighborhood drains right there. And it kind of goes, the grade goes down toward that corner. And it took quite a bit of engineering and innovation. We've got a trench drain in there. At any rate, we've got a trench drain that goes across the property toward the Parker and Lincoln intersection in that general direction. We also have included, we've incorporated quite a bit of permeable asphalt in the parking lot. So in essence, the existing condition as reported by the neighbors in prior neighborhood meetings was that, this corner is going to flood on you. And so we knew we had this problem heading into it. And so what we've done is design the site so that in the event of a 500-year or 100-year event, what will flood first is our parking lot. And then flood control will go down, it will seep into the ground. And so what we've done is take the flooding onto our parcel so that it acts as a very temporary retention pond in time, to allow the flood water to subside. And what that should do is basically mitigate any type of flooding into the neighborhood. So,
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I do have a question. So with all your work on the drainage, was all this done after July, after the homeowner bought his lot?
the work on the drainage?
Yeah.
No, all the design and engineering was done prior to that.
So all the work was done prior to that
The
time?
work was still underway in July. We just started grading, I want to say in June. We were approved in May. Yeah, and so we were still grading in June, and the trench wasn't in yet. So a lot of the work and the infrastructure was not complete.
So
this
with
summer.
that water runoff in July, it's possible because of being in construction period,
Mm-hmm.
it did tend to overflow there, but it should not happen now that you've got it all in
Now that the site
place.
is, I mean, we just laid asphalt, and the asphalt is in now. That permeable asphalt is in now. It was laid this December. And the trench drain is in. We have flood control in at the intake there by the Parker Lincoln corner. So it's a dry season right now, though. We've kind of
Yeah.
had a bit of a dry winter, so it hasn't had a test yet. But as far as engineering is concerned, it should be fine.
And in that smaller building, is it going to be connected to the larger one, or
No,
will there be
no.
open space
No,
in
there will be
between?
open space between them.
Okay.
Is the mess from the original flood, or the initial problem, has that all been cleaned up?
Well,
The flooding that occurred at that corner? Yeah, on Alcorn.
was there a flooding event specific?
Well, maybe I misunderstood this. I thought the neighbor said that there was there was a bit of a flooding issue when they started construction. Has everything been cleared up back on Alcorn Street?
Yes, Alcorn Street has been cleared up, and as I believe all the work has been done on it. I'm sure you're aware, there's quite a bit of infrastructure work going on underneath the street. It's an old neighborhood. A lot of the locating and the locates on things under the street didn't match 40-year-old maps, and so there was a lot of digging and upheaval. And we appreciate the patience of the neighbors for that, certainly. But as far as any flooding, we're unaware of any major flooding event. As far as standing water, there may have been running water from something. I'd have to look into that and touch base with Ryan on that if there was. Then we'll talk to our site super. But as far as natural floodwater events, rain, storms, everything should be mitigated by this system.
Okay. Other questions?
I have just one. I know that you have not submitted the site plan for Lot 2, but I would assume, based on previous conversations, that access to that light will either come from your existing site or from the north side of the property. No access to that site from Alcorn?
Oh, absolutely no access from Elkhorn.
Other questions? No. All right. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Any further questions?
Nope.
Okay, then we will close the public hearing at 7:17. All right, Planning Commissioner discussion?
We've looked at this previously. I think it still falls into the same thing, cleaned up a little bit. Got a couple extra questions in tonight because of the addition of Lot 2. I think that helps for more information, and overall, I don't see any major changes in what we approved in November, and we'll continue to support it.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is consistent with what we've seen before. I do appreciate the public comment and extra information on the water and the drainage, so we can understand that a little bit better. And I guess I would encourage Ryan to follow up on that legal notice that the public brought to our attention today, and make sure what that is, and if there's any action needs to be taken by staff.
And I think with the extra drainage put in by the applicant, that will help that corner or that section of Alcorn Street in that neighborhood with any flooding that may occur in the future. So I'll support the approval of this.
I concur with my fellow commissioners.
I also appreciate the fact that you've been able to work with Douglas County to come into that right-of-way to do the landscaping on the outside of the fence. I think that'll help the neighbors off of Alcorn. So really, with some minor changes, I continue to support this.
And I agree with my fellow commissioners.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that's been done collaboratively with the county and the town to get this project up and running, so I'm in support of it as well. Do we have a motion?
I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Parker Keystone Amendment Number 2 minor development plat subject to the conditions contained in this staff report.
I'll second.
It was moved by John, seconded by Rich, that Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Parker Keystone Amendment Number 2 minor development plat subject to the conditions contained in this staff report. Signify your approval by yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any items from the town or the staff?
No, sir, there are no staff items.
Okay, then we will adjourn at 7:19.